You've been in that moment. A group conversation is flowing. Everyone seems quick, effortless, loud. And you're there, quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because something in you hesitates. You replay sentences in your head before they leave your mouth. Sometimes they never leave. And later you wonder, is something wrong with me? Or is there something deeper happening beneath the silence? You don't talk much. People might label you reserved, hard to read, too quiet. But what they don't see is the internal activity. Your mind is not empty. It's busy. You notice tone shifts, micro expressions, the weight behind words. While others speak freely, you're scanning, processing, and that constant processing creates friction, because by the time you finish analyzing the room, the conversation has already moved on, so you stay silent. Over time, that silence starts shaping your identity. You begin to see yourself as not expressive, not charismatic, maybe even socially inferior. You hesitate to share half-formed thoughts. You avoid interrupting. You wait for the perfect moment. It rarely comes, and here's the subtle cost. The less you speak, the more invisible you feel. The more invisible you feel, the less you speak. A feedback loop. Psychologically, this pattern often overlaps with high sensitivity, introversion, or high behavioral inhibition, a temperament trait studied in developmental psychology. Behavioral inhibition means your nervous system reacts more strongly to uncertainty or social evaluation. Not fear exactly, just caution. But caution, over time, can look like silence. So the question becomes, is your quietness a weakness, or is it an adaptation that's being misunderstood? You are not broken. Your brain might simply be optimized for depth over speed. In personality psychology, introversion isn't about shyness. It's about stimulation thresholds. Extroverted brains often need more external stimulation to feel engaged. Introverted brains reach optimal stimulation faster, meaning what feels lively and energizing to others can feel overwhelming to you. So you regulate, you pause, you conserve. Silence for you may not be emptiness. It may be protection. For protection from what? That's where the real mechanism begins. Let's look under the surface. When you're in a social setting, several systems activate at once. First, the amygdala, your threat detection center. Not because people are dangerous, but because social evaluation carries evolutionary weight. For most of human history, rejection meant isolation. Isolation meant danger. Your brain still carries that ancient wiring. Second, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning, editing, and self-monitoring. If you're naturally reflective, this region works over time. It reviews your sentence before you speak it. It predicts outcomes. What if that sounds stupid? What if they misunderstand? This creates a delay. Think of your brain like a high-security airport. Some people have automatic gates. Words pass through quickly. You have multiple checkpoints. Every thought gets scanned. Sometimes it never boards the plane. Now here's the important part. This isn't dysfunction. It's a system designed for accuracy. Research in cognitive psychology shows that people who engage in deeper processing often take longer to respond, but produce more nuanced judgments. Your silence may reflect depth, not deficiency. But depth without expression creates imbalance, and imbalance creates doubt. So how do you keep your depth without disappearing? That's where we move carefully into practice, not to turn you into someone louder, but to help you exist fully without fighting your nature. What to do? Treat small contributions as experiments, not performances. Say one unfinished thought, one small reaction, without polishing it. Why it works. Your amygdala reacts strongly to perceived social risk. When you frame speaking as evaluation, threat increases. When you frame it as data collection, threat decreases. You shift from survival mode to curiosity mode. Curiosity quiets fear circuits. Example, instead of waiting to give a perfect opinion in a meeting, say, I'm still thinking this through, but one idea is, small exposures retrain your nervous system. Speak when your thought feels 70% formed, not 100%. Why it works. Perfectionism activates the brain's error monitoring network, anterior cingulate cortex. The more you chase precision, the more hyperaware you become of potential mistakes. Stopping at 70% interrupts that loop. It teaches your brain that incomplete does not equal unsafe. Example, in conversation, instead of mentally editing 3 times, say it once, even if it's slightly messy. Messy builds tolerance. Tolerance reduces inhibition. Before speaking, ask, what would be useful here? Not how will I be perceived, why it works. Self-focus increases activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, linked to rumination and self-consciousness. Other focus reduces it. When attention shifts outward, self-monitoring decreases. Your speech becomes more fluid because you're not observing yourself in real time. Example, at dinner, instead of worrying how you sound, add a question that moves the conversation forward. Contribution over impression. After social events, build in decompression time. No screens. Low stimulation. Why it works? Introverted nervous systems fatigue faster from dopamine-heavy environments. Without recovery, your brain associates socializing with exhaustion. With recovery, it learns balance. This prevents withdrawal cycles. Example. After a gathering, take a 20-minute walk alone before checking your phone. Let your nervous system reset. Increase presence in small, controlled ways. Eye contact, nodding, short affirmations like "that makes sense," why it works. Social bonding releases oxytocin, even in small doses. You don't need long speeches to activate connection circuits. Small signals build belonging. Belonging reduces threat perception. Reduced threat increases willingness to speak. It's a gradual upward spiral. Notice something. None of these steps require you to become louder. They require you to become slightly braver in manageable increments. Because bravery, neurologically, is exposure with recovery, not force. Here's the mental model to keep. You are not a broken microphone. You are a high-sensitivity receiver. Receivers pick up more signal, but they need calibration. Too much filtering, and nothing comes out. Too little, and noise overwhelms. Your task isn't to change your wiring, it's to adjust the dial. Lower the threat. Soften the filter. Allow 70%. Over time, your brain learns a new equation. Speaking, consult, danger. Speaking equals connection. And when that equation shifts, so does your presence. You don't need to dominate rooms. You don't need to compete with volume. Some of the most grounded people speak less. But when they speak, it lands. Your silence has depth. Your pauses have thought behind them. The goal is not to erase the quiet. It's to let it breathe without turning into invisibility. So next time you feel that familiar hesitation, don't ask, why am I like this? Ask, what would happen if I let just a little more of myself be heard? And then, just a little, try.